Hi there, and welcome to Therapy by the Book. My name is William Haddad,
I'm Daniel Villanueva.
and this is the show where we take your favorite fictional characters and ask the question, what would it be like if they came to therapy? Daniel, do you know who our client is for today?
I do. I'm super excited. I was shocked at all the little jokes that I missed the first time. But we're talking about Lilo of Lilo and Stitch.
We are. Little Lilo from Hawaii, only I think 6 years old, and she's coming across the oceans for a referral and an intake today.
Or did they fly us out? I think I prefer they flew us out to her.
Are
I
you
think
licensed in Hawaii? I'm not, so I would have
I
to.
well, you know what? For the sake of this show, I'm licensed in Hawaii, so they can fly me out, and yeah, it's going to be an all inclusive therapy session. I
I
think
love
that's
it.
what
I
I
love
want.
it.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing that I found myself wondering after rewatching the movie and just sort of going over the motions and the feelings was do I want to do, this is Lilo who's our client, but the whole dynamic is really her family. It's her relationship with Nani, with Stitch, with her parents. So I'm wondering, is she somebody that we would want to see one on one, or would it be, would I want to start with a conjoint family session, her and Nani together right off the bat?
Well, that's interesting. I guess it goes by style, right? My style's always been I'm going to meet with her first. I'm going to build rapport. I'm going to hang out with her. We're going to become friends. I'm going to learn I'm going to learn about her crushes. I'm going to learn about what she's into. I'm going to learn about the game she plays. I'm going to learn about the little creatures that she creates out of with her own sewing kit. I'm going to learn everything I can about her, and then start incorporating everybody else in the back end. That's my style. I've worked with other people to where right off the bat they want to go straight to the family. Well, conjoined, everybody together. But I think it's depends on your style. What about you? Where are you at? Where would you want to start?
I think I would definitely want to do a group intake. I would want to see,
Okay.
I would want to try to get a sense of the back and forth dynamic between Lilo and Nani and see what it's like when they're in the room together. See how do they,
Interesting.
what's their go-to default communication pattern? Is it anger? Is it sadness? Are they at each other's throats within 5 minutes? Or is there also empathy? Are they able to kind of find some common ground without, needing a mediation of some sort? Because that will tell me
Yeah.
if Nani is a support source for Lilo and something that I can and help Lilo cultivate in my sessions with her as well as outside or in family ones, whether or not I continue one on one.
That's fascinating, and that's something that I've heard from other therapists before. And my reasoning the other way, which as you listeners will figure out, there's no right way. It just is.
Exactly.
Therapy's therapy is very it's in the eye of the beholder. And for me, I want to see how she changes once I introduce the family. I want to see how she, what's the term, code shifts. I want to see how her presentation is different. I want to see how she acts, maybe more childish, maybe more defensive, or more avoidant, or how she takes a role as an adult, a hero, some sort of position to support her sister, who also lost her parents. With her, within her 6-year-old mind, she's thinking that this is how she's going to do it. So I would rather do it the other way, so that I could see the little kid that I get, and see the little subtle nuances. And then when we introduce the family, all of a sudden that little girl disappears, and I get this young adult. I get this parentified little girl that's trying to find her way. That's the way I like to do it. But again, and everybody has their own style, and it all works. We're all going towards the same direction, because I agree with you completely that's what I want to see at the end of it all too. Who her support systems are, how she runs the house, or thinks she runs the house, and what comes out of all of it with their own individual and collective dynamic.
It is, as you say, in the eye of the beholder. No matter what our style is, we're all playing for the same team. We're all trying to do what's in Lilo's best interest. Which, speaking of, I was very struck by nuance of the character of the forget his name, but the social worker in the
Oh
film, voiced
yeah,
by
the
Ving
CIA agent.
Rhames.
Yeah,
Yeah, ex
Which
CIA
CIA,
1972.
which is so odd, but okay, yeah. If we went with the story, yeah, he was interesting. He was a no nonsense kind of guy, and I don't. Well, we both worked in wraparound and man, I can't even remember the other category that I've worked in. What was it called? Where you did the same thing?
I was in FSP, which is like partner.
FSP. I was in
Yeah, but
FSP as well.
they're basically the same program for those listeners. They're both community based, team oriented intensive service therapy programs for families that are usually high risk or high needs. At my agency, the only difference between the two programs was that wraparound needed to have an open DCFS case currently
Mm,
on the books,
yeah,
whereas FSP, that wasn't a requirement. They just had to meet the other criteria.
right. Yeah. But I mean, what I was going to say with that is that I've seen that guy. Not obviously not literally, but I've met him. I have met him through many women, many men, many other identifying people, and it's fascinating to see it played out. He wasn't leading with this internal frustration, or really, I'm going to call it fear, that they're going to miss something, that something's going to happen to this kid. It's all love. I mean, they're worried about this kid to do well, but he led with almost like he was pushing an agenda to say, "Hey, I don't want to take her away from you, but you're not giving me any choice. Get it together." But given the circumstances that obviously the viewers seen, not him, it was hard to get it together. There was just so much going on.
Yeah, it's easy to miss, and especially if you're a kid, most of that is going to go over your head anyway. But when you've got literal aliens on the scene as well,
Right,
causing all
even
sorts
before
of
they got there.
shenanigans. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah, there was just chaos, man. There was just so much going on, and this little girl, uh, so much depth, so much pain, man. Like so much pain. Um, she had a pretty rich perspective, as far as like what's going on around her. But the childhood trauma, her own style of resilience, her feelings of belonging, they were all just mushed up and just kind of a mess. And the last time she felt safe was in that picture that she kept underneath her pillow, which is so specific. It's such a great little nugget for us and remember we're not looking at this as a movie. We're looking at this that we just happened to find the picture underneath this little girl's pillow. It's such a great nugget for us to see, to say, oh man, she really appreciates her native culture, her wine culture. And she also understands on a deeper level her family loss, you know?
Yeah, she feels the full weight of emptiness that her parents' death has left for her and for her sister. And though she struggles to find, I think, the words to articulate it, her actions, her behavior, everything speaks volumes to the pain that she's feeling. I was so the words that sort of come to me are it was beautiful and it was painful. It was just complete. It was both of those
Yeah,
just intertwined, beautifully painful, because you see she's got this in her behavior. She's got this wonderful imagination.
for
She's
sure.
she's going out to the ocean. She has a fish that she believes controls the weather. And it's her job to feed him peanut butter sandwiches every day. To keep the
Uh-huh.
balance. She's this plastic surgeon for her dolls. She's just got
Right?
this whole intricate lore and all these creative, beautiful, imaginative scenarios that have all been, I think, many of them have been altered or employed as part of how she's coping with this loss.
Yes.
She's using the imagination to keep herself sane and to keep going. And I've worked with never anyone as young as her, but plenty of clients who were minors who were doing something similar. Some who would use poetry, or I had one who just had sketchbooks, full of all different kinds of drawings. That was just how they kept going with what was happening in their life.
Yeah, there is a need, and I think it's a pattern that I've seen anyways, and I'm sure you have as well. We're people. I'm just going to say people in general. We look for something to control, man, and we talked about that. And we're going to continue to talk about it with everybody because I feel like there's a power dynamic that happens within every uh, battle with anxiety, battle with trauma, battle with whatever, insert key phrase here, where we want to establish some control. And some people go to eating disorders, or just eating. They go towards pornography, sex, whatever it is. But I've seen it with little kids, and I've worked with. Man, I think the youngest I ever worked with was 3, and the oldest I've ever worked with was 88. So the huge spectrum, right? And
Yeah.
and for the little kids, yeah, it's always something that they can control, and it's usually you see it, and that's why play therapy. I've never been certified or anything like that. I've just watched it, or clumsily done it with the little ones. It's seen how they pretend what they're going through. They pretend what they need. And that little doll, the original Stitch, I might add, don't forget that that little doll was named Stitch, at least if I'm remembering correctly, was kind of a manifestation of her, man, of how she felt, all taken apart, lost, and trying to get it all together and still be beautiful, even though she saw herself as different and dysfunctional. And it didn't help that the little bully girl and her minions kept making her feel even more othered. But she found ways with the peanut butter sandwiches and the doll and listening to music and nailing the damn door shut so her sister couldn't get in it, and just different ways to where she could feel in control in the midst of chaos when everything else around her was just falling apart. She was isolated. She was culturally marginalized, even within the deepness of her culture on her island, man. But you can, if you really watch it, you can see how all these places are resorts, man. And it's not people from her culture. It's external, it's expats or whatever the term is. So she just consistently felt othered. And then at her school, and luckily she had that great I don't know if he was like a choir leader or a religious leader. I have no idea who he was. I have to watch it for a second time to remember or understand it. But she just felt very displaced, man, and you can see it in her actions and her pain and her isolation and everything else.
There's a rawness to her emotion
Yeah,
right off the bat. When I think this is the only time um, that we see her get so triggered and upset that she gets physical and lashes
oh,
out. but
yeah,
but that's all you need to know just how sensitive, and how what a nerve that the
yes,
girls who were picking on her, bullying her, pressed when they
right.
called her crazy, and told her that she's just that what she's going through, in so many words, it doesn't matter. That's the worst kind of pain. That's just rubbing. That's not rubbing. That's pouring salt in the wound.
Oh man, yo, just like agony. It was. I didn't even remember that scene. It's been a while since I watched it, and I watched it. I was like, "Holy crap!" Like she got a good hit on her, on that other
Yeah.
girl. I was pretty shocked. Yeah, I was like, "Wow, okay, good. Do what you need to do." I'm glad they separated, and I'm not condoning violence, listeners. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just got caught up in the scene, and I'm rooting for my girl. I want to make sure she's okay, and I don't like bullies. I'm gonna put it out there, but I know that bullies are, it's what is that guy, Pablo Ferrer, right? The oppressed become the oppressors. I
Yes.
understand
Yes.
it, and I get it. But at that moment, let me get the win for her standing up for herself, and in an incorrect way. But it shows me in my end now putting my my therapist hat back on, that I have something to work with, that she's willing to fight, not physically, but emotionally, that I can get her to see that there's more, that she has more control, she has more power than she thinks, and fortunately and really deeply unfortunately, she's so parentified, dude. We can do a lot with her. She feels like a tween to me, maybe even a teenager, maybe 13, but she feels definitely like a tween to me, even at 6 years old. So with that, man, we can do a lot.
I agree. I'm glad you mentioned that because I remember thinking that too. That for her age, she's remarkably insightful. You know, she does have a that the wise beyond her years. I think
All trauma, man.
perspective. All
Yeah.
trauma, yeah. Trauma ages you. Ages you like no tomorrow.
Hopefully in a good way. Yeah.
Well, it can be in a good way because it's how with therapy with resources and with your family or people who love you, it's how you gradually make the transition from victim to survivor. And there's
Yes.
that I'm sure you've heard of this, the concept of post traumatic growth, which is where you
Yes.
take the coping and all the things that you never realized or what you were doing to stay resilient through the worst of it and reframe those as now these are your superpowers. These are what make you
Oh,
such an awesome person.
for sure. I love that, man. I love that term. Superpower, superpower. I use that constantly because I think it is. I think there's so much strength that comes from that. And again, man, I don't want anybody to suffer. I don't want anybody to or to go through pain because I think of suffering as a different thing. For me, pain is inevitable part of life. Something that we unfortunately have to go through or just are forced into. But suffering is a choice. Suffering is us avoiding. Suffering is us not sitting, or in her case, man, she's only 6 freaking years old. Not knowing how to process and not knowing how to work with what she's been given, and this is generational. The island of Kauai, that she's coming from. She's very marginalized, man. Even though her culture is so powerful and so deep and deeply rooted, she's very marginalized because it's a tourist trap. It's a tourist location. So everything around her is not of her.
I was reading through the trivia section on the movie's IMDb
Oh,
page after
that's awesome.
I watched. I do this for every movie I watch.
Of
This is a
course you
whole
do. Of course
yeah.
you do. That's
This is just
amazing.
this is part of who I am. I love this, but it's my
Love
favorite
it.
parts. Well, I came across something really interesting. So you remember the scene when she dresses Stitch up as Elvis, and he makes that big show for everybody.
Yeah.
But then it kind of goes sour after the camera flash bulbs startle him, and he gets all angry. Originally, that scene was shot in a completely different way. I can't remember how it began, but instead of the the cameras startling Stitch and him going out of control, what happens was one of the tourists, the non natives on the beach that day, goes up to Lilo and makes a very racist remark apparently to her.
Oh,
And
that's
that's what
crazy.
causes yeah, and that's what causes Lilo to become distressed. And I think I'm probably misremembering this, but I think Stitch like comes to her defense and starts causing havoc or something like that, and that's how
Wow.
things go out of control. And then the social worker who's there in that scene too, in the original version, he's there earlier in the scene and he witnesses that, and then he says to Lilo as they're walking away, that didn't go well. That was uncalled for. Her behavior and not trying to stop Stitch. And Lilo looks at him and says, "If you lived here, you would understand."
Oh, that's cool. I mean, horrible, but cool all at the same time. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were aware of that dimension, and it's although that scene didn't make the final cut. I think that the emotional legacy is still present in what we saw.
And yeah, I was just gonna say because even without that scene, which that scene would have radiated a little bit more for me, but I still felt it and I still saw it. I still saw it with the restaurant goers, which it's a cartoon, so there's an alien dog kind of hanging out. But it's weird to begin with. Everybody's gonna look. but it was the looks that they painted on their faces. It was the behavior. It was the little subtleties. And as she is a child of trauma, she's picking up on all the subtleties. She is trying to protect herself, so she's picking up on all the little subtle nuances, all the body language, all the let's not to sound too woo woo, but all the energy and all how people are avoidant, how they're trying to overly coddle her, how they're feeling guilt, how they're completely ignoring her, or how they're like in that scene that wasn't didn't make the cut, just outright being hateful. But as a 6-year old, wow, she's picking up on all this. So no wonder she's a tween, and I'm gonna keep calling her a tween because that's how she feels to me. No wonder she is at that status, that tween status, is because she has to be. And I think what the listeners might be surprised at is that subconsciously doesn't understand that she has to be for herself and she's trying to protect herself. But there's part of her also that's doing it to protect her sister, to keep the family together, to understand or hold on to the idea of family.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the common theme throughout the whole movie.
It really is. And there's that great line, that line that really just gets you right in the feels, at least for me when I heard it, where it's after she and Nani have had their big blow up at each other early in the movie, and then Nani, once they've cooled off, comes up to her bedroom
Brings
and
her food.
yeah, brings her food and apologizes. And then Lilo says to her, I like you more when you're my sister rather than when you're trying to be my mother.
Yeah, yep. And food, man. Food itself. Food is such a family thing, such a cultural bond, such an important um, connector that people don't realize, ignore, or don't, I guess some don't understand. But that coupled with what her statements, again, being the little tween that she is, you saw it, man. You saw it all kind of bleed in. But what she's not realizing, because now we're revert back to her being a 6-year-old, is that Nani needs to be the mom, to a certain extent, right? She needs to step up. She needs Lilo to get it, to slow down, because I don't want to lose you. Um, she also doesn't have the time for her, which is just rough, man. It's such a rough position to be put in. How old is Nani? That's the one thing I didn't. Honestly didn't even think about it till towards the end of the movie. But do you have any idea how old Nani's supposed to be?
Gosh, now that you mention it, I'm realizing I'm just as as unsure as you are there. That's a great question. That is a really great question. I will say this. This is again one of those things that's so easy to miss, but is right there in the scene where Lilo brings Stitch into Nani's bedroom to show her the trick with the Elvis record.
Yeah.
That's so zany. If you look in the background of on the wall of Nani's bedroom, you see she has a collection of surfer medals or trophies,
Oh,
and we see also in the wonderful scene where they all go surfing together with what's the guy's name, the fire eater, Dave or something.
I don't remember. I call him Nani's boyfriend.
Nani's boyfriend, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when they all go surfing together, we see that Nani, she knows her stuff. She's
Oh,
there,
for
she's
sure.
catching these giant waves, and she's having a ball. The implication there, I think, is that prior to their parents dying, Nani was a professional surfer, or may have been on the rising ranks, of being a competitive surfer. So I think at the very least we can say she's a young adult, very well in the 18 to 20 range.
My guess would be late teens, early 20s is what I was thinking.
Yeah,
So that
because
makes
she's
sense.
because we can see she has an identity already. She's old enough to have, or that she had an identity. She had a sense of her life path prior to everything happening. But then we also see that when it comes to being a full-time caregiver and an adult, she's just tripping over herself at every turn. She's struggling to take care of Lilo, but she's struggling to hold down a job, and she's struggling with some of her own, I think, insecurities, and just struggling to adapt to a lifestyle that
Yes,
she's never had to deal with before this directly.
absolutely. I'm glad you said that because that was the next little piece I was going to bring up. Is that you and I'm sure you've seen it too because we in our in that old position was old for me. Well, that's old for you too. Now you're not doing that anymore. You would see all these things and you would see again the older sister if she was parentified, if her parents weren't actively involved, which this and bear with me, this tells me that they were actively involved because you would see that with them not being there, nothing really changed. You would see the pots all cleaned, you'd see the food just going, you would see everything timed, everything in sync in some sense, right? Not perfect, doesn't need to be perfect, but you would see that because what we see is that the older sister would have to take on a parental role to take care of the little sister, so she would already have the experience of practice. But from what you're saying, and I completely 100% agree with you, she was living her own life, and her parents were being parents, and they were taking care of the little one, taking care of her, and the house was taken care of, and they everybody was doing their function. Everybody was doing. It was complete homeostasis, man. So there was no dysfunction. Not that nobody's perfect, man, but for the sake of the argument, there was no dysfunction until the loss, until the grief, until the sadness, the attachment disturbances, the fantasy coping mechanisms that both of them in their own ways were having. Thinking that this job and I have to do it this way, and being completely detached, and then Lilo with like her own weird obsession with aliens, and then taking pictures in order to I think, again, I'm talking out of my butt because I don't know, but I think taking the pictures to try to understand them because she feels so othered, man. The wall of pictures is to try to understand how people function and what they're doing and how they live a normal life because they weren't. Notice that none of the pictures were of, I don't know, model esque people. It was just everyday people. It's almost like she wanted to see what is it like to be normal? How do they do that? And then Elvis, and I don't know, man, I don't even know if I should say it. I don't know if this is inappropriate, but in Polynesian islands, Elvis has always been very important. He was a big star attraction around the world, but specifically in the Polynesian islands, because I think he was stationed there at one point. So his looking at him as somebody on a pedestal, somebody in control of his life, somebody of power, somebody that everybody universally cared about, agreed with, had fond feelings of. It all comes back to her trying to understand everything that's going on around her because she feels so disconnected inside. Am I overreading? Tell me I am. It's okay. It doesn't hurt my feelings. What do you think?
No, I actually didn't know that about Elvis and about that sort of his status as as a cultural icon in particular to that part of the world. That's very fascinating, and I think that makes sense. That Lilo would gravitate towards towards something like that because one, it's an Elvis is a creative individual just like she is. Lilo we see is an artist
Oh,
at
good
heart.
point.
So Elvis is somebody that she could find, I think, comfort and admiration in on a personal level, not just a cultural one, but then a culture one too, because Elvis is an established is an established presence in the cultural collective, which to Lilo, though she might not admit it or see it this way, strictly speaking, having Elvis be like Elvis is an anchor. He's
Uh
something that she
huh.
can relate to.
Literally
That's
that.
part of her culture. That keeps her stable, keeps her from feeling like she's completely isolated in the
Yes.
in the point of no return.
It gives her Ohana, man. It gives her Ohana. It gives her family. Not specifically maybe him, or maybe I don't know. I doubt it. But just the idea of it. Who knows? Maybe her parents used to listen to him. Maybe her parents were big fans. Maybe that's connecting them to her or to them because she also is which is normal. She's very clingy. in her own sense, right? She has these meltdowns, these tantrums. She has all these things again, trying to have control, trying to feel uh, um, uh, having power over something. And she, I think, even ruminating in the back of her head, there's the constant fear of losing even more, losing her sister to where to the extreme to where we've seen, you and I have seen it. It almost flips. It almost is like it's so overwhelming. So I'm just gonna avoid it completely, and she'll self sabotage or do stupid crap just out of, well, this is how you see me. This is what I'm gonna do, and this is how I can control this situation. So now if I get taken away or whatever it is, it's because of that, not because of me. She's trying to take the pressure off herself. So she's six, but she's so bright. She's so smart. Obviously, she doesn't understand any of that. That's our job to come in and say, oh, okay, these are the subtleties that you're not. But it's all there. It's all played out for us. Yeah, and at the heart, man, it's family. So Hannah.
Ohana, yeah, and that word, which it becomes so pivotal, and which I, I I loved how. Tell me if you caught this too. What Nani first teaches to Lilo, or I should say, what their father teaches both of them, and then what
Ah,
you know,
good
what
catch. Yeah.
what Lilo then reminds Nani of, and Nani reflects back early on. Stitch then picks up on and then reciprocates on his own to Nani at the darkest hour when Lilo's been kidnapped. So it's this beautiful, back and forth, coming full circle multiple times of that message of togetherness, that we're all one and nobody gets left behind.
Uh-huh. And what does that create, man? It creates safety and stability. And that's all they want, all of them. And that's what we all want. In our own ways, we're all children of trauma. Some of us more than others, right? But it's just we want stability, man. We want safety. We want to feel like, okay, the storm has passed. And like I'm sure you teach just the way I teach. The storm always comes back. We just learn how to deal with it better. There's thunder, lightning, and rain and hail or whatever it is, but I'm cozy underneath a blanket on my couch. I know it's there, but I'm not going to react to it, and that's the sentiment that we want to kind of begin to instill. And with her, man, the cultural value, that huge component, um, is something that she can just run with. It's something that's going to reinforce. It's going to bring it all together for her.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, dude. She needs a very culturally sensitive therapist that's going to bring in the value of that to really reinforce it because she understands it already. It's there. Um, yeah, incredible.
Well, going back to what you were saying earlier about these being superpowers in a way,
Yeah.
vulnerability, that insight, the creativity. That's a word I would definitely employ with Lilo in
Oh, for sure.
session. I mean, I would say let's look at these as your superpowers to start that perspective change, and let's see if we can't find a way to help you come into your own with using them, so you can start to feel some more of that safety on a regular basis. Not just for that you're keeping your family safe, but that you're feeling safe too, that you belong, and that you love yourself as well as that you feel loved by the others.
Yes, yes, yes. It's all of it. Yeah, and really, it's like changing. Well, owning that, but also changing. Very was it Viktor Frankl, right? Changing the meaning. Your sister's not. I don't know. Let's use the word abandoning you. She's going to work. She has to do these things. She has to keep a roof over your head. And so the attention seeking, the seeking of validation, all that stuff can start to taper down. It doesn't need to go away. I love that she wants to be important. I love that she wants to be loved. I love that she wants to feel, I guess, coddled in her own way. She's pretty self-sufficient, so I don't think she wants to be treated like a baby. But I do feel like she wants to feel safe almost kind of like a big hug. But then leave me alone after that. But I think all those maladaptive behaviors, like we can change the meaning of them to where it's such a positive. It's a superpower, and she can or sit in her own strength with time, and use her imaginative world or storytelling, or I don't know, her play and everything else, like in a healing way, a culturally kind of congruent healing way to grow and just kind of make meaning of everything that she's going through that she doesn't even understand. But we won't spell it out like that, because although she actually a tween, she's only 6, but we'll show her that it's okay. We'll show her to be her. That just be your beautiful, incredible, loving, true, authentic self, and that it's okay that you don't. This is the hardest part for kids, man. You don't need to be for everybody, but you need to love yourself, and your friends will be there. They will come. Um, you build it, and they will come. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Another
Yeah.
movie we should think about getting some referrals from.
Oh, that would be a trip. Yeah, because yeah. Oh, I won't even get into it now, but we'll save that for. Yeah, I would like to do that one. That one would be fun.
Well, another little fun fact that I picked up from IMDb is that Lilo's name in Hawaiian has two meanings. Apparently, it means both lost and generous one.
Interesting. That's actually really cool.
It is. I think we see both of those on display multiple times in the movie, as we've been talking about. She's as you pointed out. It's not just her behavior is withdrawn. We see that. We see the law. We see that she's lost. We see that she's this outsider struggling to fit in and blend in. But we see that generous side of her in two ways. We see it with her sister. We see it with how, as you were saying, in her own way, she's trying to convey that I'm not going to be the problem here, so that it's not your fault if we get split up. So that is a form of compassion that's
Yeah.
shown more through her actions than her words. But then there's also generosity that she shows towards Stitch when
Right.
when they adopt him. Lilo, I think, is drawn to Stitch in many respects because they're both outsiders, and she
Yes. Yes.
sees that he's like her in that regard, that
Yes.
he's an oddball. He's the ugly duckling, as they have with the book. And she wants to extend that. She's very generous with him. She wants to give him some of what she knows herself is all too painful if you don't have anyone else to share it with.
Yes. So it's a parallel process, right? She's giving him all the love that she wished she had, or she feels like she doesn't. She feels, or she sees and I'm going to use a dirty word, man. I'm going to use a bad word. She sees the brokenness in him. She's not broken. None of them are broken. And any of you listening, man, you are not broken. You just haven't learned to use your superpower yet. She sees this. She sees it in him. She sees herself, and that's where the parallel process comes out. That she's showering this this interesting creature with love, man, and knowing that okay, you're acting out, you're doing stupid stuff, but it's just what you've learned and what you do right now, but this isn't you, and she's so self-aware that she can see it within him, because then you also see the subtleties within him. That she, I guess at the moment she doesn't know that she's playing for the cameras, the people that are watching him, not the cameras, the binoculars. But they really are him too. They wrote him off just like they, her. I'm just gonna call them peers. Wrote her off. But in all honesty, there's so much empathy, like again, way past her own years. So much self awareness and like a deep desire for love, man. It's so cool. It's funny to watch these movies and see all the deeper rooted parts of it. And half the time, that's why I asked you earlier. Half the time, I'm thinking, man, am I over digging in this, or am I really seeing this? Because she reminds me of a lot of people I've worked with.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I hear you.
Fascinating.
You do wonder, and I mean, I think it's both. I think it's true that as we get older, we naturally just have different takeaways from art and from movies because because we're smarter, we know more, we've learned more, we see things differently, and our how we feel about certain things changes with time as well. But I also think that at least in this case, the filmmakers knew what they were doing. They understood on an intuitive level, if not a practical one, what the dynamics of a child who's lost her parents and is going through all of this pain would look like.
You're absolutely right. I think, and now adding that other, which I think is a big part, big piece of the puzzle or the pizza or however you want to look at it. It's a huge slice of the pizza, but the cultural piece, man. I feel like that has been instilled through her parents, through her sister, through her life, through everything else. Is that oh my God, what's and it's a famous word. Everybody says it all the time. It usually means hello, good, aloha, means hello, goodbye, but really it means love. It means connection. It's not even it has to be for like people that are alive. It's just anybody that's deemed as other, anybody that's it just means all encompassing love. And that spiritual bond or the Hawaiian concept of it, that cultural framing, plays a big role in that her relationship with Stitch as well, and her sister, and the boyfriend, where she just like we decided I'm just gonna call you Nani's boyfriend, because it's all love, man. It's all love.
It is.
Such a smart little girl.
And Nani's boyfriend, to his credit too, he's kind of an interesting character as well, because he's one of the few characters who isn't immediately repulsed by Stitch when he first meets him. He's
No, he trips
he's
him out,
he
but
trips him
he's
out.
okay with
He's a
it.
little
Yeah.
he's a little surprised. He's maybe a bit wary and he's curious, but he's not. He doesn't dismiss Stitch out of hand, which is says, I think, a lot about his character and is also part of why he ends up eventually becoming part of the family too by the end of the film. Because he gives Stitch the benefit of the doubt, and Lilo, I think, already respects him for that because he's done the same with her on previous occasions.
Yes. All of it again goes back to this idea of love, acceptance, and empathy, deep rooted empathy. And if you really think about it, they all wear their feelings on their sleeves. You mentioned it with Lilo earlier, getting physically violent. Uh, she gets hurt. She's sensitive. She gets angry because she's trying to get a sense of control. But on the other side of it, it's because she is so self aware of that of the pain. Um, and the sister, same thing. The boyfriend, the same thing. Stitch, the same
Oh
thing.
man, Stitch. He is. I wanted to actually talk about this because this is going to be me wondering if I'm overanalyzing. So you feel
Ah,
feel feel free to.
well, hold on. Let me tell you now. No, you're not. How about that? Yeah.
I appreciate it. Good, I'm clear.
Go,
Okay.
go, go.
So the thing I noticed is that, if we're talking about anger, if we're talking about wearing our emotions on our sleeves, I mean, Stitch has got four of them.
Oh,
he he is from the get-go, he's got no sense of identity. He's, I mean, as we see in the prologue, he is an experiment. He doesn't even have a name. He's experiment 626. He's a label, and he was created as his creator reveals, solely for the purpose of destroying other
destruction.
things,
Right.
destruction. And so he's in some ways, I think, even more lost than Lilo is, because unlike Lilo, he doesn't even have the benefit of having had a previous family or connection to give him insight into what he is missing out on now. So he has none of those built-in barriers. Lilo has, although we see her lose her temper, she has coping mechanisms. She has some resilience. She's learned to be a little bit insightful as best as a tween can about her feelings. Stitch has got none of those safeguards. So all he is just, if it moves, shoot it. That's his mentality when he lands. So
Right.
he's just got that, and the thing is, he's not even aware of how broken and lost and painful everything is for him emotionally. And it takes Lilo extending that hand, that gesture, that aloha, to him,
Yes.
for him
Yes.
to have that kind of epiphany in the woods that evening with the Ugly Duckling book, where he admits verbally to the sky, "I am lost."
Oh man,
And he would never have
that's
been able
such
to
a
get to
deep
that
moment.
point, yeah, without Lilo's guidance. And Lilo herself was giving him that guidance only because she saw her own pain reflected in him, but Stitch didn't have that knowledge already that she had about why that was so.
Well, it takes us back to what, like, undergrad, man. It takes us back many, 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 many moons ago. This idea of nature versus nurture, right? This idea of supposedly he was created for destruction, but um, if we instilled in him that, uh, yeah, that's where he's gonna go. But that can change. Is that for everybody? No, I know. We're gonna get a lot of viewers who bring up some I don't know, some serial killers or something. But I would even argue with them. I think there is something that could have been done at some point. And well, let's not get into the woods of it all. But with the nature versus nurture, we see him evolve, right? We see him evolve. We see Lilo evolve. We see the sister evolve. Nani evolve. We see the boyfriend, Nani's boyfriend evolve. And this is where it gets crazy. Is we even see the crazy professor, whatever he is, we see him evolve, and we see empathy. We see him seeing that Stitch is not uh, a possession, a toy. He's a living, breathing, loving, caring thing, and it grows with him as well. This connection or this understanding that what am I doing? I want to help him continue to evolve. And we see it also with the other gentleman, the one-eyed guy, who, well, yeah, well, fascinating enough. He has his own interesting transitions going on in the background too, which, go for it, man. I hope you find yourself. But there is so much evolution, and it's all stemming from, again, changing meaning, love, openness, and empathy, which they all have as as their own superpower. So yeah, man, no, you're not overreading it at all. I think that's such an important little nuance uh, that proves to all of us that if we can open our minds and open our hearts and lean into the superpower of vulnerability, not worrying about that I'm going to get hurt, my feelings are going to get hurt. Sure, yes, that's life. Our feelings are going to get hurt, but it will not destroy us. Lilo, my gosh, she will not be destroyed. Will her feelings get hurt? For sure. But she is so strong. Her resilience is going to keep her, or going to propel her in the future to who knows what kind of incredible things. It's just so cool to see. And I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, definitely a connection to all of
As far as the nature nurture question goes, I will say that I know from other cases that I've read about with children clients, that I remember one of my professors was telling me about this in grad school. This was one of the first examples of this phenomenon, which is that children, and in this case I think Stitch really is the example of this, is that we will we will conform to what people, to the box, the expectations that the adults in our lives make for us.
it.
So
Yeah,
if people treat us, if people say you're the bad kid, oh, you can't help it, you're just a troublemaker, you're going to say, well, I guess I'm a troublemaker, so I might as well embrace that, because we're young, we don't know any better. Our brain is adapting through demonstration and through suggestion, just to kind of figure out what is this crazy big blue green world that I've been thrust into. So Stitch is an embodiment of that, and that all he's heard from his creator is you're created for destruction. You break stuff, you blow stuff up, that's what you do. And so Stitch is like, okay, I'll do that.
He doesn't know any better,
He
man.
doesn't know any
That's what he
better.
knows. Yeah.
And it's that and that's everything, because Lilo does not lump him into that box. She gives him so much more. She shows him the other side of what he can be by showing him the other side of herself, and by showing him connection through their, not just that they're both outsiders, but that they also share things in common, such as kind of a fascination with the bizarre and the unconventional. I love how it's Stitch eating his boogers that convinces Lilo that he's the pet she wants to adopt. So, just little things like that. And that in turn, as you were saying, reflects back eventually all the way to Stitch's creator, where he's proven wrong and he realizes that actually Stitch is capable of defying his programming, because he was given feedback, he was given an environment that told him he was not what he was made to be, that he could be different, and that they wanted him, in fact, to be different, that they would love him for being something more than just a tool for destruction.
Yeah, and if you really kind of think about it, I'm thinking about it right now, is that getting the mad scientist out of his lab, and having him observe change. Remember how shocked he was that that Stitch was playing.
That's
He
right.
created a city to destroy, and he was having fun. It changed something in him. It led him, and this is something that I constantly teach, man. Is the idea of the what people call it. People call it the butterfly effect. I call it the ripple effect. It's, think of a still lake, right? And I think I said this during Obi-Wan, but it's okay. I'm gonna reuse stuff all the time, guys, because it's just the way my brain works. A still lake, you throw a pebble, right? Of course, you're gonna get a splash, but then you're gonna get these ripples, and it's gonna touch the fish that was swimming by. It's gonna touch the plant that's sticking out of the grass. It's gonna touch the shoreline. It's gonna touch the other side of the lake. It's gonna touch everything. And his, or let's go even further back. Their parents, their grandparents, their sister, her sister, her mom, her dad, her neighbor, her sister's, quote unquote boyfriend. These are all ripples. These are all touching her to switch this perception of self, and to let in, safely let in, because she's really guarded, of course. I don't blame her. Love, acceptance, that she is worth it, that she is a good person, that she is a lovely person, worthy of love. And that's what she teaches him, Stitch, and that's what Stitch teaches the Doctor, and that's what the Doctor teaches the weird guy with the one eye, and ultimately at the end, that's even what they teach the what, I don't know, the grand, whatever her lady, the main lady was, that evolution is real, that we can evolve, or that, or even better said, that we have other layers of ourselves. We just need to open up the door to be able to see them. Okay, what about, and this is where we usually go at some point. I have an idea of what I want to do for diagnosis. Do you have something in your pocket? Should
I
I go
do.
first, or you
I
want to
do.
go?
I think I went first last time, so hit me with yours.
I am I am being very light with this one. I don't like to, and this is, I know, please BBS, or don't investigate. Please be nice to me. I I
They're
want
getting
to
out their
go.
notepads right now. They're going to cross check in their
Yeah, they're like,
DSM fives.
they're gonna start looking into my old diagnosis here. But I'm gonna go with an adjustment disorder with mixed disturbances, emotional and conduct. I know there's more trauma there than that, and and I don't remember how long the parent dies, because I know there's a 6 month limit, but based on the information I have right now, that's what I'm gonna go with. I want something light. It could be complex, bereavement, if you want to go. It could be PTSD. It could be some, other trauma based, whatever. It could be a lot of stuff. But for me, I think the adjustment disorder with like kind of mood swings, social withdrawal. What's the other criteria? I'm riffing, guys. This is off the top of my head. Uh,
It's mixed anxiety and depression. I don't.
mixing, no, mixed emotional disturbances. So she goes from anxiety and depression. So I would do the mixed emotional and conduct, which is I don't even know which number it is. I think it's like the third one down or something.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's what I would go with. I want to go lighter with her because I see that it's not something that this character, this specific person, let's call her, is going to carry with her forever. I feel like I can get her to a point where she finds her strengths rather quickly. Go ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought of conduct disorder too, when especially with that opening scene where she just lays into the
Not
bully.
conduct disorder.
Oh,
I wouldn't go with conduct disorder. Not for me. I would use it within the section of adjustment disorder. Because
oh,
conduct
gotcha.
disorder we to me makes me feel like that she's using this, and then she is to some extent, but that she's outright using this to get attention because nobody sees her. My sister's always at work, so this is always going on, and this is the only way somebody notices. That's how I think of conduct disorder, and I don't see that for her.
No, definitely not conduct disorder proper. I agree with you 100% there. Because yeah, one, she's not doing it for attention. That was her. That was just a very sensitive area for her, and that's the only time we see it happen in the movie is when we see her get to that point with her conduct that she's actually physically aggressive towards another person. So
Totally.
it's yeah, no, I'm with you there. That's interesting. With yeah, so you do mixed adjustment. The question of time notwithstanding, I think for me, and maybe it is a little heavy. I would probably go with depression, but with the specifier that it's prolonged grief. So it's the grief
Mm,
component that's at the core of that. Because this is what's really interesting. She meets the criteria for major depressive disorder. She because in
yeah,
children it's
I could
not
see that.
just it's not just feeling depressed. It can actually manifest as irritability in children and adolescents, which we see a little more of her, though we also see the emptiness. So she has that, but all the other, she hits the 5 bullet points out of 9 that the diagnosis requires, and the grief component. But I think you need to specify the grief component because that's clearly what's at the cause of this. And I don't think that, although it was traumatic, I don't think trauma quite fits because there isn't that. You don't see the sense of it that she's trapped per se in the traumatic sense. It's more that she's feeling this emptiness that's weighing her down. That's it's like she's dragging this weight everywhere she goes. I've got my pocket DSM-5 here actually
I
to,
just pulled mine up. It's funny you said
love it. We're in sync. She
that.
meets criteria number 1, which is depressed mood most of the day, indicated feeling sad, empty, or irritability in adolescence. She meets the fatigue or loss of energy criteria because we see when Nani gets home, Lilo's just like lying on the couch, like she's just completely checked out listening to Elvis. She has that fatigue, and then she meets the remaining 3 after that. She has that the diminished ability to think or concentrate because we see that she's late for her class. We see that she's a little erratic with her task management, probably something that Nani as well is I think passing off onto her, or that she may be picking up through her behavior. And then we see that Lilo, she's not suicidal. She's not thinking about hurting herself, but she does think about death a lot. The concept of death in the abstract, and the question of death as it relates to why her parents aren't here anymore is definitely part of her daily mindset.
I know, and that's why my brain leaned towards like a bereavement disorder. Um, but I just felt like the adjustment disorder fit better. The one I went with was the F43.25. So it's a mixed disturbance, emotions, and conduct. Both emotional symptoms, e.g., depression and anxiety, and a disturbance of conduct are predominant. So we have all this mixture, right? She's really anxious. She's really sad. She is acting out in certain ways within conduct to try to find control. Um, but I wouldn't lean into the MDD or although she fits criteria or you can make her fit criteria. That's the hard part, listeners, is that we can make you can tell me a sentence and I can make you fit for just about any criteria. Yeah. So it's really us evaluating what we really are seeing and what we're hearing without you telling us, and that's through with the kids. It's through their play. It's through their laying on the floor listening to music, wanting to just blur it out. I don't want to hear all of this going on anymore. I don't want to feel that pain. And yeah, so we can make it fit either way. But I just to me, I'm gonna stick with my adjustment disorder. Number one, because I'd like to diagnose lately. I hate diagnosing to begin with. I don't like giving people a label, and that's my own trauma, right? I don't want to be labeled.
Oh,
But
I'm with you there. I mean, even if I stick with the depression, prolonged grief aspect, if I'm seeing her, I would not want that to be part of the conversation any more than it absolutely has to be. And I would want to make it very clear to Lilo, this is nothing to do with you. This is not part of you. This is not a label. If anything, this is just another baddie that you and I, with your new superpowers, are going to help you smash apart, so you won't have to worry about it anymore.
right, yeah, yeah. No, this is something they're making me do, and it doesn't define you. You're an incredible, brilliant, strong, beautiful little girl, and you're gonna be able to take on the world. I'm gonna be working for you one day. That's for sure. It's
Definitely.
and yeah, this is just something to try to make sense. And that in the state of California slash Hawaii, Hawaii, they're
There you
asking us
go. Now we're
to
talking.
do. There you go. We mixed the two. Okay, what about treatment? I have some ideas. Very loose. I mean, number one, it's been a while since I worked with a kid, but I have some ideas of the direction I would go. Obviously, some child-centered play therapy that would definitely be in it because she does that. A lot of pretend men, a lot of non-directed, a lot of play. I don't like directed play. I know that's a very play therapy um, piece, and I'm misquoting. Please don't be mean to me in the comments if you're a play therapist. I don't mean no any disrespect. But as far as I understand it, that's how I think it goes. So I like non-direct. I like just playing with my own insight to know when to sneak in. Oh no, I miss you, mommies, or little things, little subtleties that the toys would be saying to each other that'll elicit a reaction to see how she sees it, to see where she uses creativity or just shuts that crap down, to where she doesn't want to feel those emotions. She'll give maybe a little bit aggressive or completely switch the play to. I see this a lot, or I saw this a lot with little boys, to destruction. All of a sudden, the monsters are coming in and stepping on everything.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's what Stitch does, of course, when he's in her
Yes,
room.
yes. I love that you just said that. I was going to say that. That's exactly what he does. And so we see him going through again the dual process, but on the other side, with Lilo. So I would do a lot of like narrative building. She rescued Stitch, and how he, in a weird way, he rescued her. And this is finding safe places for her to, just like when she talks to him at night, to know that she can do that all day. She can do that all the time. She can do it in her own head. She can do it while she's in the shower. She can do it while she's in the bathroom. She can do it everywhere and anywhere. And then I would, just like we started with, where again we differed. I would do it after the fact. I wouldn't do it first. I would start family therapy with Nani. I would kind of explore their attachment, their bond, their communication styles, their boundaries, how they work together, the teamwork, going over their how they're both orphans in their own way, and people don't really think of it that way, but they are. Because they have each other. They think of being an orphan as having nobody. That's not the case. Even us, I've lost my dad already, and my mom's older. At some point in the near future, I'm going to be an orphan, and how she's dealing with it, or how they're dealing with that as a family unit. Acknowledge like Nani's own grief, own pain, and kind of work. And this is my own weird thing again. I don't know how you do your stuff, but I would treat them. I treat my couples, I treat my families as individuals in a group, because what I would want Lito to see is Nani's expression, how she's being seen, how she reacts to this individual therapy that she's having in the moment. It's not that I'm excluding Lilo. It's that I want Lilo to learn empathy, seeing how Nani's suffering on her own, man, all the stuff that she's going through, and that um, that she is she's had to hold it together, but she has her own grief, while balancing trying to have some sort of authority, and working together on their own um, healing, their hurting, their own individual hurting. I'd go into cultural stuff, like I said earlier. I think it's super important. Native Hawaiian values, their own rituals. I want them to teach me. I noticed on the door, on Lilo's door, and I can't remember the name of the word, but it was basically like keep out, stay away. And I can't remember. I felt like I read it being very culturally important. So I want to get more about that. I want to get understand their spiritual connection, how they see the dead. Are they still with us? Are they? Do they? Can they talk to them? Do they talk to them? What does that look like? Yeah, elders, cultural healing, like mentors, and just everything that's encompassing with rooting of that cultural healing component. I would dabble in, I guess, shoot, what would that be called? I guess TFCBT type deals. Um, Getting Lilo to understand her feelings, to be able to express. I would definitely teach some breathing exercises to get her to chill out. Box breathing, what is it, the 478, or any of those things. I'd teach her how she can even use Stitch as like kind of a projection tool to be able to understand um, how she's acting, through his own behaviors, and how it looks, and whatever it might be.
I wanted to ask you on that note, actually, if Lilo asked you, would you allow Stitch to come into session
Heck
with
yeah,
her?
absolutely. Oh, I would love that. I would love that. Working where we work, we would get an audience. We didn't work together, but we worked with the same demographic, and
Right.
the demographic was very high risk, very high needs. So yeah, Stitch would be the equivalent of where other therapists I remember didn't want the chaos that the little brother would bring, or the little sister, whoever it is. I wanted it. I wanted to see, and I know I'm kind of a weirdo about that, but I wanted to see the disruption. I like chaos. I like the idea of it, because then we get to see the real Lilo. We get to see how, and we saw it in the movie, and I'm sorry, in the real life that we saw. We saw her calm in the midst of chaos. We saw her very empathetic, very kind. Oh man, you did that again. Can't believe you bit the thing in half and broke the whole restaurant. Oh, cut it out.
That's such a great point. She's again Lilo, generous one. She's remarkably tolerant and patient with Stitch's antics and chaos, and that again just speaks to her own empathy, her own understanding of what he's going through, because she's felt so much of that too.
Yep, and right, the projection tool. She's using it to understand herself and for him to understand himself within her. Long term, she's gonna feel like she belongs. She's gonna and this might again sound woo, but this is just the way my brain thinks. She's gonna heal through love, man. She's gonna change the meaning of things. She's gonna reclaim her understanding of herself and her joy in her community. She's gonna channel her creativity, which is man, I don't want her to lose that. She's gonna learn how to trust relationships because everything she's gone through, they can't hurt her. They'll hurt her feelings, but that's life. We're all gonna get our feelings hurt, but ultimately, um, she'll be okay. She'll learn to understand. Okay, well, these aren't the people for me. I don't want to be around people that make me feel this way.
I love it. I love. I'm right. I love that. Because I agree completely that it's probably not a good idea to do direct play with her. I mean, number one, that she's. I don't think she's going to respond to that because Lilo is she's such a free thinker.
For
Even
sure.
at her age, she's got more, as we said, the mindset of a tween. She's going to want flexibility in her sessions. I would almost say what I would do is I would say let's try to do the majority of our sessions around town. Let's keep these sessions field based. Take me to your favorite hangouts. Take me to the beach. Take me to where you feed your peanut butter sandwiches to your fish. Show me, show me your world. Show me the things that matter to you. I don't want to confine this, to the space where all the grief is, because I'm trying to, what I'm hopefully trying to teach in our sessions is that there's more to there's more to your world than just the pain you're feeling. So let's explore some of these areas that you might already have going that you didn't even realize were keeping you in the game.
Absolutely.
The other thing too
That's
is,
brilliant, actually.
oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, the the other thing too, though, although I would stand by, I think wanting to do an intake with Lilo and Nani together, as I was saying before, to keep so I can observe that communication dynamic off the bat. I don't think I would. I don't think I would do conjoint sessions right away. Reflecting on it now, having talked about it, I would start off, I think, with Lilo one on one, and then as we built rapport, I would check in with Nani with her periodically too to kind of get her perspective on things. I used to do that with parents with my FSP
Collaterals, man.
cases. Yeah, you got to
Oh,
do
for
those.
sure.
Got to do the collateral sessions. Got to get
It's
that.
that's about the family, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's the thing. I wouldn't want to leave out Nani and certainly not Stitch from the sessions because, as we've been talking about, it is all about Ohana. It is all about it showing Lilo that her family, she still has a family, and that those connections are there. And I think having them be present more in session than not would probably lead to a stronger impact of that message for her in the long
I
run.
agree. Totally agree. Completely and utterly agree. I think the only thing we're disagreeing on is that the first session. I I don't want. I want her to know this is her space. I want her to know this is us, and I want to build such a bond with her to where she feels like she's hanging out with her uncle, man. She's just kind of hanging out, and that she can just be silly, and she can be herself, and she can joke around, and she can be mean, she can be grumpy, she can just be. I'm not gonna judge her in any way. I will call her on her crap because maybe that's the gestalt in me. I'm gonna push her to to set some boundaries, but it's all going to be love, not out of anything that's mean spirited or that she bothered me or hurt my feelings or anything. It's more to show her that it's okay to feel, but it's also we have to have empathy for everybody around us. And then I would start adding in everybody else because by then she knows that I got her back and then what I'm doing here is oh I guess Daniel's trying to help her just like he helped me, and oh I guess he's trying to help Stitch just like he helped me and Nani, and so it evolves again. She's she's the centerpiece. I want her to know she is the centerpiece. But everybody else and what she doesn't know is that they're all the centerpiece. It all matters.
Right.
All interconnected. It all makes a difference. And any new therapist that's listening to this, uh, you've got to work with the family.
Yes.
Do not just work with the client. You are going to lose a important opportunity to really help this family find themselves. And it's not that the kid. There's nothing wrong with the kid. The kid has learned all of this through generational, through parental, through school, through everything. The behaviors. So we got to work with the family. We got to have a greater understanding, and they have to do all the work in the background without us there.
Right.
That's the key.
Daniel, we're at that bittersweet time of the day.
Oh, I hate to see it go, man. But yeah, I agree.
I think the thing to close this out is I would want to leave Lilo with is the understanding that one day people are going to be bragging that they got to be her friend.
Wow, that's huge, and I totally agree. I think her knowing that, I could see the smile on her face. And I love that they flew us out to Hawaii to this, and somehow we got licensed out there.
Oh,
I love
it
that
was
even more.
so convenient. It just worked out beautifully. Yeah. Well, I will thank you so much, Daniel. I'll catch you on the surf, and we'll see all you listeners next time. Thanks again.
Exactly. I'll see you at the buffet, Ben. Take care.